Congratulate you on your docuseries, Sean Combs, The Reckoning. It's #1 on Netflix.
Yeah.
Like, it's been #1 on Netflix. Did you actually expect it to be as big as it got?
I expected it to be bigger. It's actually exceeded my expectations now.
December 10th, 2025. 50 Cent publicly admits is holding 140 hours of unseen footage from the Diddy documentary, content Netflix refused to air because it crossed their red line. Soon after, leaked snippets begin circulating online, exposing exactly why that material was buried, and the impact is brutal. Now 50 is openly floating the idea of releasing everything himself on YouTube. This is the footage they never wanted made public. That same day, 50 is stretched out on Sherry Shepherd's couch, fresh off his documentary knocking Stranger Things off the top spot on Netflix worldwide. Praise pours in. Sherry brings up the possibility of a second season, and that's when 50 casually says he'll just upload the rest to YouTube if he has to. The grin on his face makes one thing clear. He's not joking.
I think it was surprising that he actually filmed it.
It was very interesting to watch a man who's known for his brand presence. You know, he has a really amazing knack for marketing.
Netflix signed off on just 4 episodes. That was the limit. But what viewers never saw was everything left behind. A massive archive of recordings that didn't make the final edit. Footage strong enough to tell its own story without executives deciding what was safe for public consumption. Not everything could fit. 50 explained during his appearance on Sherry's show. With only 4 episodes, choices had to be made. Entire moments were cut, and what hit the editing room floor quietly became the most valuable material of all. According to 50 himself, that unused content adds up to 140 hours of raw footage. He even confirmed it on Instagram. When a fan speculated that Netflix had once had 140 hours, 50 jumped in to correct them. There are 140 hours. Present tense. Still intact. Still somewhere. And almost certainly still in 50 Cent possession.
So here in the case, we'd like to take a little bit more time and focus on some of the things that the jurors saw and heard. So we want to talk about the evidence of Kid Cudi's car. Leather lined with gasoline, luxury, cayenne-colored seats coated black with ash.
I never understood why he recorded himself. 50 Cent said while talking about Diddy's obsession with documenting his own life. But now, I'm glad he did. That's where the situation takes a darker turn. Footage as volatile doesn't need a Netflix deal, polished edits, or approval from corporate legal teams. It doesn't need anyone's permission at all. YouTube becomes a backdoor, straight to the audience, no filters, no softening the edges. And 50 made it clear, once more material surfaces, many of the people standing by Diddy right now will suddenly go silent. During his appearance on Sherry Shepherd's show, 50 hinted at one detail that never fit Netflix's carefully structured storyline. He pointed out a recurring pattern in Diddy's relationships, choosing women who were previously connected to men he considered rivals. One example landed hard. Diddy as a child with Sarah Chapman, the mother of Chance Combs, born in 2006. Years earlier, in 1995, Chapman had been romantically involved with Tupac. To 50, that wasn't coincidence. It was a pattern, a fixation on rivals. Even after death, turning relationships into personal trophies. That context, according to 50, lives inside those unseen 140 hours. Commentary and footage that would have made the connection impossible to dismiss. Netflix opted for caution. YouTube wouldn't have to. Another major omission, Kim Porter. Her 2018 death at 47, mother to 3 of Diddy's children, was completely left out of the final documentary. The speculation that followed her passing was intense, but her children publicly shut down the rumors. Netflix chose to stay away from the topic out of respect. Still, unanswered questions remain, and 50 may be holding material that revisits what the documentary avoided. Then there's the Kid Cudi allegation. During the 2025 trial, testimony surfaced claiming Diddy ordered an attack on Cudi's Porsche following a dispute tied to Cassie. The media discussed it heavily, but the full story never made it to Netflix. That footage, too, is rumored to be sitting in the vault.
It was significant in many ways, David, because we saw it in the gallery and then the jurors saw it, because this is Kid Cudi's Porsche. It's the black one that was parked in his driveway in L.A. when he says that someone firebombed his vehicle. Let's go inside.
Court testimony laid out the details step by step, the Molotov cocktail, the ignition that didn't take, and the forensic findings that followed. Even so, Netflix chose to downplay the entire incident. With no final smoking gun, only witness statements and circumstantial evidence, the platform reportedly scaled the story back to avoid legal exposure.
What they consider a pre-existing beef, right, for 20 years, right, is me being uncomfortable with him suggesting that he takes me shopping, or I looked at it like it was like a tester.
But 50 could still decide to put those witness accounts out himself. YouTube plays by a completely different rulebook than major streaming platforms. And then there's a long-running conflict between 50 and Diddy, almost 2 decades of very public tension. Strangely, the documentary didn't reference that feud at all. Not once. No nod, no context, nothing. That omission wasn't accidental. It was restraint. By leaving the rivalry out, 50 kept the spotlight on the allegations surrounding Diddy instead of allowing the project to be dismissed as a personal score-settling exercise.
Went
away.
Got in the car and said, I feel like I need to wash, like I'm dirt. That was, it showed you his character.
Was that the reason for including it?
Yeah, I mean, and what's the odds that you would do that in front of a camera?
Including that part would have weakened credibility and made it read like an outright attack. Netflix insisted on staying neutral, but YouTube? That platform has no such rules. The backstory, however, could shed light on why 50 was so determined to make this project. They framed it as some old feud, right? 50 explained to interviewers, "For 2 decades, I felt uneasy with him constantly implying that he could take me shopping."
The goal of what the film is trying to do is to let the audience kind of come in to ask questions like, were their decisions colored by certain things, and who got the benefit of the doubt?
The documentary exploring Tupac's murder addressed the subject, but only on the surface. It included Keith Diaz's statements, yet stopped short of a full excavation. Large portions of material pointing to Diddy's alleged connection were left untouched. Extra witness interviews, financial records, and evidence mapping out the broader conspiracy were all reportedly set aside. Netflix opted for a cautious approach, balancing storytelling with legal risk, keeping a measured, journalistic distance. But according to 50, those missing 140 hours hold content far more dangerous than what a corporate platform is willing to stand behind.
It's important to also let people know that the show is not completely the perspectives of people that did not like Sean. We weren't trying to just get the highlights, the salacious details, that the real goal was to story.
Netflix's format forced hard decisions. With limited runtime, editors had to constantly weigh what pushed the story forward and what had to be left behind. YouTube doesn't have that problem. There's no clock, no episode cap, no concern about pacing. Every claim can be examined in full, one by one, without trimming for time. One major subject never explored at all, the infamous white parties. From the late 90s through 2009, these events became legendary, drawing high-profile guests ranging from Justin Bieber to Leonardo DiCaprio. All white outfits, extravagant setups, still performers, pool swings. It was spectacle by design. Diddy's camp has always insisted nothing improper ever happened at those gatherings. But the real question is what the unreleased footage actually reveals.
Listen to me. I'm going to get off the phone right now, and I am going to let you professionals look at the situation and come back to me with a solution. No matter what nobody said. Let's just, here or there, y'all are not working together the right way. We're losing.
Cass's appearance at the 2025 trial was one of the most harrowing moments of the case. Over 4 days, she described alleged abuse, manipulation, and being recorded without her consent. As the prosecution's key witness, she spoke openly about using drugs to mentally detach during what she called freak-offs. None of that testimony appeared in the Netflix documentary. It was too recent, too intense, and too legally sensitive. Still, the court transcripts are public record, available for anyone to analyze. YouTube offers a space where that testimony can be examined without filters, including the statements that played a role in Diddy's conviction on transportation-related charges. The self-shot footage that did make it into the series came from Diddy's longtime videographer, Michael Oberle. After the release, Oberle claimed the clips were leaked by a third party while he was out of state. He later addressed the situation, saying the conduct surrounding the release fell short of the ethical standards any storyteller should follow.
Look, if I didn't say anything, you would interpret it as the hip-hop is fine with his behaviors.
Diddy's legal team fired off cease and desist notices, accusing the documentary of using stolen material that was never approved for release and warning of billion-dollar lawsuits. Netflix didn't back down, insisting every second of footage had been acquired lawfully. That legal standoff alone shows just how dangerous the content really is. And that was only the opening act. What Netflix aired has already reshaped public perception. Viewers saw moments like Diddy seeking out someone experienced in the darkest corners of media manipulation to push propaganda, or casually asking for hand sanitizer after greeting fans in Harlem. Small, unguarded scenes like these stripped away the polished image and exposed the contrast between the public persona and the private reality.
Diddy Combs have now sent a cease and desist letter to Netflix.
That's right. They are demanding it not release a docuseries featuring the embattled mogul.
But there's still 140 hours that never surfaced. Statements removed because of time limits. Claims judged too delicate to air. Links that needed more space than 4 episodes could give. The deeper story involving Sarah Chapman and Tupac. The full account of the alleged firebombing of Kid Cudie's car. Every element Netflix's legal team considered too dangerous to touch. 50 made it clear, when the rest comes out, the voices defending Diddy now will fade fast. He didn't frame it as a threat. He framed it as certainty. Because this moves beyond streaming contracts and polished edits. This becomes about unrestricted access. About truth without filters. YouTube plays by a different set of rules than corporate platforms. No legal departments demanding approvals. No executives worried about backlash. Just hit upload and let the audience decide. December 10th, 2025 could end up being a turning point. The moment documentaries stop being shaped by network limitations and start becoming direct conversations between creators and viewers. A moment when 140 hours of unseen material becomes available to anyone with an internet connection. 50 Cent is holding what amounts to a nuclear option. The complete story, untouched, uncensored, impossible to contain. Ready to be released whenever Netflix's version feels incomplete. Ready to address every unanswered question. The archive exists. The footage is real, and through his Instagram posts and talk show appearances, 50 has made his intentions unmistakable. This doesn't conclude with 4 episodes. It ends when every clip is exposed, when every accusation is scrutinized, when all 140 hours enter the public domain. That smile he gave on Sherry's couch said more than words ever could. After 2 decades of warning people about Diddy, 50 now claims to have proof, not gossip, not hearsay. Unedited footage capturing moments that defined a predator. And soon, everyone may see it. Netflix aired only what it safely could. What was left behind was simply too volatile. December 1st, 2025, the day before Netflix released its documentary on Sean Combs, his attorney sent a cease and desist letter threatening immediate legal action. The footage at issue included private recordings made just 6 days before his arrest, conversations with his lawyer, strategy discussions never meant for public view. Netflix's response was simple. They were releasing it anyway.
You want to put the stuff in my fanny pack, King?
Here's where things take a sharp turn. The footage that Diddy's team is calling stolen actually originates from a documentary project he began at just 19 years old. Decades of self-recorded material. Every major milestone, every conversation, every decision meticulously documented. Diddy's goal was total control over his own story, to shape how the world would see him. The problem? He never completed the project. Now, Netflix has access to it. Exclusive clips obtained by Netflix showed Diddy debating strategy with his lawyers. His team immediately went public, claiming the platform had used footage without authorization, including private moments, pre-indictment recordings, and legal strategy discussions never meant for public eyes. What counts as private? Diddy's team points to clips of him alone in hotel rooms, phone calls with his children, and moments of raw fear and anxiety, vulnerability he had carefully shielded from the public for decades. One particularly striking segment captures him sitting in a car after meeting fans, caught off guard, revealing the human side of the man behind the public persona.
Oh, Lord, your way. I'm away. Lord, your way. Be with it. I'll accept it.
I need some hand sanitizer. Hold on, I got.
The recordings were made on September 10th, 2024, just 6 days before federal agents moved in to arrest Diddy in Manhattan. By that point, the investigation was already in full swing. Diddy was fully aware that charges were imminent. He documented nearly every detail, tracking events, mapping out his defense, and gathering footage he believed would shape his own narrative. Some of the most striking moments are his legal strategy conversations, phone calls with his attorney, Mark Agnafalo, where they discuss ways to control media perception. Those discussions reveal a level of calculation and urgency rarely seen on camera.
I want to have a life to be able to live. You know, it's really going to be hard for me to take more hits than I take it. God forbid, get in front of a jury and have a chance.
Attorney-client privilege. That's the line Diddy's team is circling but hasn't openly invoked. The complication? If a third party was the one recording the footage and holds ownership, the usual protections of privilege don't automatically apply. It turns what would normally be private legal discussions into a far murkier legal landscape.
Listened. I've been a superb client, as you said. I jumped on the plane. I'm coming to New York, but I'm just running around waiting for a shoe to drop.
Diddy's team maintains that this was an incomplete endeavor. Footage gathered since he was 19, meant for a documentary he would fully oversee and control. The problem? The project was never finished before his arrest. That unfinished status creates a legal gray zone, one that Netflix is now navigating and arguably taking advantage of.
Because you may just be a person that you just may watch CNN. So you at the wrong place looking to see what the people with the possible jurors are thinking.
Crucial point in Diddy's team's statement. No right were ever handed over to Netflix. According to his lawyers, the footage was shot for a completely separate project, under terms that were never finalized. Here's where it gets complicated. The freelancer who captured portions of the material physically held the recordings, and if Diddy never compensated him, that ownership factor could shift the legal balance entirely.
Since you didn't watch it, Ebro, there's one piece.
I watched some of it.
Where, there's very intimate footage of Diddy with his lawyers. But in the documentary, it also talks about how he hired a young person to film him.
The cease and desist letter arrived on December 1st, just hours before Netflix was set to premiere the documentary. Its tone was unmistakably aggressive. The message was clear. Mr. Combs doesn't hesitate to take legal action against anyone who infringes on his rights, and Netflix will be no exception. Despite the warning, Netflix held its ground. Combs' spokesperson publicly labeled the footage stolen and unauthorized, calling the documentary a shameful hit piece. Meanwhile, the director of the series stated that the filmmaking team had obtained all material legally. So why did the letter fail? Because Netflix is a multi-billion-dollar operation with lawyers vetting every frame, photo, and clip before release. They don't air anything without airtight legal clearance. Earlier in 2024, Diddy had attempted the same strategy, suing NBC Universal for $100 million over Diddy, the making of a Bad Boy on Peacock, a defamation case still pending. That lawsuit established a pattern. Diddy sues when documentaries are released. But Netflix is a different level. Deeper pockets, stronger legal teams, and rock-solid evidence that the footage was acquired lawfully. When someone films content, but the contract is never completed, payment never issued, and rights never secured, ownership defaults to the person who actually captured it.
If Diddy never signed paperwork, he was like, no, I'm going to get you when I get you.
Yeah, that's right.
Now Diddy never gave him $1. Now Diddy went to jail. He's holding all this footage. 50 goes, I'd like that footage. All right, how much, bud?
Yeah.
Diddy's team argued that Netflix's use of the footage was both unfair and unlawful. Decades of recordings meant to tell his story on his terms were now being wielded against him. But in the eyes of the law, fairness isn't the deciding factor. Ownership is. And what exactly did Diddy capture on tape? Virtually everything. Every defining moment since he was 19. Studio sessions, lavish parties, boardroom meetings, conversations with artists and executives, private interactions with partners, arguments, celebrations, and even incidents that could be considered criminal. The irony is striking. In his drive to control the narrative, to shape the story as he saw fit, he recorded obsessively, never imagining that his own documentation would eventually turn into evidence that could unravel him.
It was surprising that he actually filmed it.
50 Cent confirmed that the documentary only scratched the surface. 4 episodes were never enough to include it all, which means a vast amount of footage is still out there, waiting to see the light of day.
Yeah, well, everything couldn't make the... It was 4 episodes.
Right.
So it was a lot. You had to pick and choose things. Like, even in an area where he chooses to date people who who he knows previously dated someone.
Many speculated that Netflix intentionally left some material on the cutting room floor, content so sensitive that even their legal team wouldn't risk airing it.
It was surprising that he actually filmed it.
It was very interesting to watch a man who's known for his brand presence. You know, he has a really amazing knack for marketing and all of that, and how he was sort of taking that into account in how he was coming off to the public.
On December 2nd, 2025, Netflix went ahead and released a documentary. Diddy's team could issue every threat they wanted. The footage was already out, and millions had seen it. On December 10th, Michael Obley came forward, identifying himself as Sean Combs' documentarian. He had been working on a project profiling the mogul for over 2 years. The footage at the center of the dispute wasn't released by him or anyone authorized to handle Combs' materials. Obley explained that a third party, covering for him while he was out of state for just 3 days, had released the footage. That short window was enough for decades of self-recorded material to slip from Diddy's control. Obley emphasized that this wasn't about money or contract disputes. It was an ethical problem. Footage meant for one purpose being used to advance a story that wasn't his own. Legally, Netflix was in the clear. Every frame had been reviewed by their legal team, and the third party had rightful possession. Once the transfer occurred, it became public record. Combs' team continues to threaten lawsuits, echoing the same tactics Diddy used against NBC Universal with a $100 million defamation suit, which is still unresolved. The pattern is familiar: threaten widely, sue selectively, win rarely. But this time, it's different. This isn't filtered interviews or secondhand allegations. It's Diddy's own words, his own strategy, and his own admissions about employing someone steeped in the daintiest corners of business to shape public perception. The man who filmed everything to preserve his legacy ended up giving the world the unedited version. Every private discussion with his attorney, every desperate moment, every calculated move to manipulate media narratives, captured exactly as it happened. Netflix released a documentary on December 2nd, and millions watched the footage repeatedly, hearing Diddy's own voice implicate him in ways even prosecutors couldn't. No legal threat can undo what has already been seen. The cease and desist letter even invoked names like Ted Sarandos and referenced the legacy of Clarence Avant, an attempt to make it personal. But Netflix didn't flinch. When you're behind bars, facing multiple civil suits, and your release date keeps getting pushed back, your leverage evaporates. The decades-long documentary project meant to cement your legend becomes the very evidence that undermines it. The footage was created for a project that was never completed, held by someone with physical possession when the arrangement fell apart. Ownership legally shifted, and now the material belongs to the story Diddy never wanted told. His lawyers can file motions all they want. Netflix isn't taking it down. The documentary remains available, because in the end, the man who sought to control his narrative just proved he never did. Just when it seemed the Netflix fallout was a climax, something bigger was already in motion. On December 11th, 2025, 50 Cent's Netflix documentary dropped worldwide, amassing 40 million views in 2 weeks. But the real bombshell? 50 Cent is sitting on 140 hours of unreleased footage, and is not going back to Netflix. He's taking it straight to YouTube. No corporate oversight, no content restrictions, no mercy. This isn't the second round. This is the nuclear option. The Netflix release offered a glimpse. 4 episodes, corporate lawyers reviewing every frame, standards and practices cutting anything too graphic. Time limits force the most damning material to stay on the editing room floor. 50 Cent holds arrest, ready to unleash it on a platform with none of those restrictions.
I'll accept.
But YouTube is a completely different arena. No network notes, no censors dictating what he can or can't say, no corporate legal teams polishing the message, just receipts, testimony, and whatever 50 Cent decides the public needs to see. The level of chaos this can unleash is unprecedented. Netflix operates under strict guidelines, reputations to protect, shareholders to answer to, and standards to uphold. YouTube has none of those limitations when it comes to user-uploaded content. First, accessibility. Netflix is behind a paywall, cutting off millions of potential viewers. YouTube? Free. Anyone with an internet connection can watch instantly. Second, virality. Netflix content is locked inside its ecosystem. YouTube videos, however, spread like wildfire across social media. Clips get pulled, remixed, shared, and dissected on platforms from Twitter to TikTok. Third, and most crucial, 50 Cent is in full control. Release schedule, editorial choices, content strategy, all his. Netflix runs on its calendar, but YouTube runs on 50's terms. He could drop all 140 hours tomorrow or release it in calculated installments over weeks or months. The exclusive footage even shows Combs in Harlem, greeting fans, raw, unfiltered moments that illustrate just how much control 50 now holds over what the public sees.
I need to wash like I'm dirt. It should show you his character.
Was that the reason for including it?
Yeah. I mean, what's the odds that you would do that in front of the camera?
That scene in the Netflix doc, where Diddy greets fans in Harlem and immediately reaches for hand sanitizer, is tame, almost polished, compared to the unfiltered reality 50 Cent is preparing to unleash on YouTube.
Consider a pre-existing beef, right? For 20 years, right? It's me being uncomfortable with him suggesting that he takes me shopping, or I looked at it like it was like a tester.
G-Unit Film and Television is producing this entirely on their own. No corporate backers to answer to, no distribution deals restricting what can be shown. This is 50 Cent operating with full creative freedom, controlling every aspect of content that could completely reshape how we see the entire Bad Boy era. He seems ready to handle any legal fallout, and for good reason. Truth is a defense. If 50 is holding actual evidence, testimony from credible witnesses, documentation prosecutors didn't even use at trial, what can Diddy's legal team do from behind bars? The producers have openly discussed what Netflix left on the cutting room floor, material that, according to 50, would silence anyone. Shocking revelations, even for those closest to Diddy. Evidence so powerful it could make his current supporters uncomfortable. These are serious allegations, far too graphic for a mainstream streaming service to air, including witness accounts that were deemed credible but unnecessary for the charges pursued in court.
I can see how Pac felt like they had something to do with the setup, man. But speaking of Puffy, right, how do you feel about the rumor that Puffy, he gave a guy named Eric Von Zip a check for $1 million to give to Keefe D to kill Tupac?
For years, many dismiss it as just another rapper feud, two egos colliding in the spotlight. But 50 Cent has always insisted this goes beyond personal grudges. It's about accountability. The Netflix documentary briefly covered Keefe D's confession, referenced Eric Von Zip, and traced the money trail linking Diddy to alleged hitmen.
It's all f***ed up. It was a setup. It was a plot to murder my brother. I feel f***ed up about it. I don't know that nigga, but I ain't got no love for none of them. Straight up.
What the doc skipped over was the true depth of Zip's involvement, the full financial trail, witness account from those who saw the payments, overheard key discussions, and knew exactly what was taking place behind the scenes.
It was a crip. Psych was an IVC Inglewood Village crip. And he hung around. Psych would be around other crips. So that's how,
The emotions are raw, the pain stretching back decades, and 50 Cent is said to have hours of extra testimony that reveal an even clearer, more detailed account of what happened on September 7th, 1996.
And Suge had a conversation behind the House of Blues about was we all right, and Tupac was alive.
The gang ties go far beyond what Netflix chose to show. The Crips, the Bloods, Bad Boy, Death Row, all of it is reportedly captured in the leftover footage. Suze was in the car that night in Vegas. He lived, while Tupac did not.
It wasn't no East Coast war, bruh. It wasn't no East Coast war. And I don't believe that Mark Curry know this for a fact.
That exchange behind the House of Blues, while Tupac was still alive, raises questions. If the East Coast-West Coast war was real, why were the CEOs negotiating calmly? Suge's account of what was said, the agreements made, and the aftermath could completely reshape how we view that era. 50 Cent is reportedly holding prison interview footage with Suze that never appeared in Netflix's version, raw, unfiltered, and potentially explosive.
Wolf had already told, Anthony Wolf Jones had already told them, if you're not taking 2 tour buses of my niggas from the Valley. That's Co-op City in the Bronx, the Valley in the Bronx. If you're not taking these 2 tour buses of my niggas out there, I'm not going.
Kirk Burroughs knew Biggie wasn't supposed to leave New York. Big ain't going anywhere, he told people on Thursday. Yet by Saturday, Biggie was dead in Los Angeles. The Netflix documentary showed fragments of Burroughs' journals, his detailed notes from inside Bad Boy, but only what fit the 4-episode format. 50 Cent is reportedly sitting on the full scans, complete records of conversations, decisions, and warnings that went unheeded. Wolf Jones, one of Diddy's original backers and longtime Bad Boy security, had insisted he wouldn't travel to L.A. without proper protection.
Ended up losing his life behind Puff and his bullshit. And people they didn't even put that in the documentary.
When security requests the safeguards necessary to do their job, and those safeguards are ignored, the fallout is inevitable.
I am just in trauma-based mode right now. I wake up ready to solve all the problems of the day, and I go to sleep and I wake up and do it again.
The claim that Wolf's death resulted from decisions made by Diddy is serious. If 50 Cent holds a full account, including first-hand testimony from witnesses, it could be incendiary. Beyond that, there are allegations of personal abuse, incidents that cross the line from professional misconduct into far darker territory.
They have incredible numbers. I first want to say the producer, director Alex Stapleton, she is one of the most incredible women I have ever worked for. I think maybe as a woman you'll understand this statement.
Aubrey Day's interview lay bare the enduring emotional strain. Years on, she continues to process the trauma, still grappling with understanding what she went through.
I believe Sean Combs sexually assaulted you.
This is how I've started to process this piece.
The moment of self-forgiveness she speaks of came only after years of confronting trauma she hadn't even realized was there. While the Netflix documentary showed her reading an affidavit detailing an alleged assault, there are said to be additional testimonies, more witnesses, and further documentation of what supposedly occurred at those parties.
Before I answer that question, I want to tell you, I forgive myself. That was the hard one. Because when you don't grow up getting approval or you're not loved properly in your childhood, you're ripe for the picking, especially if you've had hard parents.
The moment of self-forgiveness she talks about only arrived after years of confronting trauma she hadn't even realized was buried within her. While the Netflix documentary showed her reading an affidavit recounting an alleged assault, sources say there's additional testimony, more witnesses, and further records detailing what supposedly occurred.
I don't think that matters to the bigger picture. I think that he needs to do the work to forgive himself.
If 50 has collected additional testimony from other women who went through similar experiences, or witnesses who saw assaults unfold, the YouTube release could spark an entirely new wave of people coming forward. Here's why YouTube changes the game. Permanence. Netflix shows rotate off the platform. They expire, disappear. YouTube, once something goes viral, it's immortal. Clips get ripped, reposted, turned into TikToks, embedded in news articles, shared across social media endlessly. The Netflix documentary hit 40 million viewers in 2 weeks. But a viral YouTube moment that spreads to hundreds of millions, that gets dissected frame by frame, becomes a permanent part of internet culture. The psychological impact is intentional. Diddy, locked up in federal prison, knows somewhere out there 50 sits on footage capable of reigniting investigations, spawning new lawsuits, and further turning public opinion against him. His serving time in New Jersey, release slated for May 2028. If he serves a full term, that's 2.5 years of uncertainty, every day wondering if 50 will drop the footage, every week watching YouTube notifications with anxiety, every month knowing his empire, his reputation, his legacy are entirely out of his control. And legally, there's nothing he can do. No takedown notices work when content is legally obtained. No corporate entity to intimidate. 50 is independent. NDAs offer no shield against criminal exposure. Witnesses who sign confidentiality agreements about crimes are not protected. Those contracts evaporate the moment criminal behavior is documented. Once 50 releases it, names could be dropped, careers ended, lawsuits triggered, and criminal charges that follow anyone involved in trafficking, assault, or abuse. The silence from others becomes deafening. Speak, and you admit knowledge. Stay quiet, and you're complicit. There's no safe middle ground once the evidence goes public. December 11th, 2025. No official release date announced, but 50 sits on 140 hours of unreleased footage, and the entire hip-hop world knows it coming. The question isn't if, it's when, and just how much chaos it will unleash when it hits.